Right, we're going to talk about two gifts of the Spirit today. The word of knowledge and discerning of spirits. And there are other gifts involved here, but what I'm going to talk about today, what I'm going to read, but these two specific gifts I want to mention today. But as we look in Ezekiel chapter 8 and verse 12, the Lord speaking to Ezekiel, and he's saying, "Then he said to me, Son of man, have you seen what the elders of the house of Israel do in the dark, every man in the room of his idols? For they say, the Lord does not see us." And so there's a lot of secret planning going on in the world by people who are up to mischief, and also governments as well. And I'm sure why they're doing all this, they're withholding a lot of information, even in democratic states, from the people who voted them in. And so they could say one thing in public, but behind the scenes there's a secret agenda going on as well. Now, I'm not into conspiracy theories or anything like that. That's not what I'm into today. I'm just talking from the Bible, because it says here that that is exactly what they were doing. They say the Lord does not see. So they were doing something and they thought God wasn't seeing. And there's a lot of people planning in this world, families, people in different groups and organisations and governments that are planning, and they've got no awareness of God, that God is watching. But God is watching. He's watching all things that are going on the face of this earth. And if we think we can hide from God, we must be insane. But there is a God who created all things. And I was meditating on the other day, and I was thinking, when Jesus comes back, how astounding, how amazing, how awesome that's going to be. When we see a man of about 6 foot high, something like that, I don't know exactly, and that we'll look at him and we'll realise this is the God-man who created the whole universe and sustains all things by the word of his power. He knows every star by name. He knows all the hairs of our head, and he can count them all. And he knows everything that's going on. He created all things. All things created through him and through him. Isn't that amazing? We're going to get a big shock one day when Jesus returns. At this moment he's watching all things. The eyes of the Lord scan to and fro throughout the earth. And so that's what's happening. We're talking about the omnipresence of God here. But in 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 8, we see that the king of Syria is making war against Israel, and he consulted with his servants, saying, "My camp will be in such and such a place." And the man of God sent to the king of Israel, that's Elisha, he warned him, saying, "Beware that you do not pass this place, for the Syrians are coming down there." Then the king of Israel sent someone to the place of which the man of God had told him. Thus he warned him, and he was watchful there, not just once or twice. Therefore the heart of the king of Syria was greatly troubled by this thing. And he called his servants and said to them, "Will you not show me which of us is for the king of Israel?" And one of his servants said, "None, my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet, who is in Israel, tells the king of Israel the words that you speak in your bedroom." Now how could he do that except by revelation knowledge? So here we have a word of knowledge here, God revealing the secret plans of the enemy and giving insight into what they were planning, the ambush and everything else against Israel. And it was frustrating the king of Syria. But you see, when God is on your side and is a God's prophet there, he reveals things to the prophet to make the people of God aware of what is happening, so we'll be warned and we can do something about it. And so it saved them, the king of Israel and his armies, from being destroyed in an ambush. And so that's what he was told. It's Elisha the prophet. God was revealing a portion, knowledge of this situation to him. And that's a word of knowledge. And that word of knowledge is in operation today. It's one of the gifts of the Spirit that God has given to his church. And so it operates very much so through prophetic ministries today. And other people. So he said, go and ministries. So he said, go and see where he is, that I may send and get him. And it was told him, saying, surely he's in Dothan. And so he sent his armies there, and they surrounded the place. And it says in verse 15, and when the servant of the man of God arose early and went to Elisha's servant, there was an army. He rose up early. There was an army surrounding the city, and this was the army of the enemy, with horses and chariots. And his servant said to him, alas, my master, what shall we do? And so he's full of fear and worry because he saw in the natural the army. And so Elisha answered, do not fear, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. And so Elisha was seeing something that his servant wasn't seeing, and everybody else wasn't seeing. You see, we're seeing into the spirit world through the discerning of spirits. That gift is also in operation today. It's one of the gifts given to the Church of Christ, so that we can see the strategies of the enemy, and so we can do something about it and warn others. And every pastor needs to pray for this gift, so you can see the wolf coming in to his church, or the enemy working in different ways to try and bring division and splits in his church, either through people or unseen powers. And so it's so that we may see into the plans and the strategies of them, see into the spirit world as well. And so in verse 17, Elisha prayed. Who did he pray to? He prayed to the Lord and said, Lord, I pray, open his eyes that he may see. So Elijah's eyes were open all the time, but his servant's eyes, he's praying for his eyes to be open for a moment in time. Then the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elijah. So around those other armies was chariots and horses of fire, the angelic host. And so he saw into the spirit world through this discerning of spirits. And then it goes on, and you know, there was Elisha prayed for blindness to come upon them. And so we see that this word of knowledge here, and what we were saying before, when people think they can plan secretly and that God doesn't see. So what am I speaking, what am I heading up for today? Well, simply this, that the Lord knows what's going on in the world. He knows what's going on in governments in this world, the secret planning and so on. He knows what's going on in the Eurozone, and it's amazing how these blind people in the Eurozone can't get it together at the moment. But there will be a time when they will get it together to fulfill the purposes of God. And so there's all this going on, the Eurozone, the financial crisis in the Eurozone, these bailout after bailout after bailout, and but they don't see God in it all. It's like they can't see the wood for the trees. But those that are God has called, who has given prophetic insight, with a word, operating through a word of knowledge, and discerning of spirits and other gifts of the Spirit, will see clearly what is happening. And God is starting to reveal, and he has done for a long time, but more so as we approach the time when the Antichrist will come on the scene and the European superstate will gain world power. He'll start to bring more revelation, knowledge to those that are listening in his church, especially prophetic ministry, people with prophetic office, for the very purpose of understanding these things, knowing these things, and so we can warn the church of Jesus Christ, so they will be prepared for what is coming. And so that's the whole purpose of the office of prophet in the church and prophetic ministries. It's so that they will see like the eagle that is on the crag, high up in the air on that mountain crag, and he looks below and you can see everything that's going on. The people below can't see everything that's going on. They just see the next wall or the next street, or can't see behind that car or that building, that person. But the eagle sees everything. And so that's the prophetic eye. That's the prophetic view. That's a prophetic seeing from above. You see a clear picture of what God is saying. And so that is what is happening today. And so I want to say today to you that they're coming up with, you know, through the media, through the TV, the radio, and what is being published today, everything that they're planning for Europe and Eurozone. But there is, let me tell you today, there's all that going on that they're revealing to the public and to governments and so on. But behind the scenes, there is secret planning going on for this world superstate and for their leader. And you know, I can't believe it will be too long now before it will start to then be revealed, this plan. But there is secret planning going on. Then he said to me, Son of man, have you seen what the elders of the house of Israel do in the dark? So we could talk about leaders of the Eurozone do in the dark. Every man in the room of his idols, for they say the Lord does not see us. And also they're totally unaware of God. And so this is what is happening. And I think there's enough there for us to think about these things today. But you see, why the governments of this world are walking around in blindness, God is making known to his church what's going on. I have an almighty God and I'm his child, and he's revealing things to me and to others. And the purpose, why he's revealing it to me, so I can share it with you today. So take note, keep your eye on it. This plan will come to the fore in the very, not long now. And you will see that what I'm saying is right, because God's given us his gifts to help us and to prepare us for what is coming. Yes, there's a system of the Antichrist, and the great leader will come, and for a moment of time he will reign to power, and the European Union will be the great world empire in his end time, and then Jesus will come back and his kingdom will reign, and he'll destroy all other kings, and they'll be subservient to him, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So thank you for listening today.